Sometimes it's hard to be brave. There are lots of things in life that we need courage for. So, what is courage? Courage is choosing to stand and face the things that scare us. It's not backing down to our fears. Whenever you try new things, it can be scary. But God will always give you the strength to have courage when you ask Him. He created you and knows what scares or concerns you. And He created you for a purpose. Do you remember what that purpose is? He wants you to go and share the good news of Jesus' birth, life, death, and resurrection. He will always give you courage to do that in whatever circumstances you're in. Since there are things in life that are scary, you will often need that courage that God has for you. The missionary we're going to learn about this time is a woman named Mary Slessor. Mary was born in Scotland in 1848. She was the second oldest of 7 children. The family was very poor, and after her dad, older brother, and 2 other siblings died from an illness, Mary had to go to work at the age of 11. Her only day off was on Sundays, so going to church became her favorite thing to do. As she grew up, she began to wonder if God would one day allow her to become a missionary. Mary Slessor loved hearing stories about missionaries, especially David Livingstone, a missionary in Africa who we learned about a few months ago. She tried to learn everything she could about Africa and became drawn to an area in Nigeria called Calabar, right here on the map. Even though she had been told that it was an unhealthy, mysterious, terrible land ruled by witchcraft and fanatical secret societies, she felt the Holy Spirit leading her to go there. When she learned of the violence, murders, war, and even cannibalism that was there, all she could think about was how much they needed to hear about Jesus. God definitely was giving her courage. When Mary spoke to a missionary about going to Calabar, he told her she could not go because it was way too dangerous for a woman. Even though that was difficult to hear, Mary didn't become discouraged. She knew that God would open doors for her if He wanted her there. He would protect her from all the dangers if that was where He wanted her to share the good news. Now she knew she needed to get some training, so she was given a group of girls to teach, but after a few years, she knew she needed something more challenging. She asked to teach in the roughest, toughest areas of the city that she was living in. She knew it would be dangerous, but God gave her the courage to teach those people about Jesus. She invited everyone she saw to come to her meetings. A gang of young men threatened to hit her with this metal weight tied to a string, and they brought it right up close to her face, but she would not back down. Seeing her courage, they finally agreed to come to her meeting, and they accepted the Lord and became some of her biggest supporters. In 1876, at the age of 28, Mary was finally chosen to go to Calabar as a missionary. She soon found herself with the desire to venture into the jungle to tell others about Jesus. She had pale skin and red hair, and that often frightened the African children who had never seen such a thing. But they soon came to love and trust her. She found that the things she had heard about the people of Calabar were true. One of the superstitions they had was that giving birth to twins was evil, and that twins themselves were evil and needed to be killed. So right after birth, they were taken into the jungle and either left to die or killed. Mary knew that twins were not evil, and she started taking those twins into her home to raise them. When nothing bad happened to Mary, the villagers began to see that their beliefs were wrong. They soon changed the rules and no longer killed twins. The doors opened for the villagers to learn about the one true God who wanted them to love and forgive, and also to treat each other kindly. Another time, in a nearby village, Mary was asked to come help a chief who was very sick. She was warned not to go, because if the chief died, she would be killed. But God gave her the courage to go. She was able to go and give the chief some medicine that healed him. After sitting by his side for 4 days, when that chief recovered, he asked her to stay and teach the others about God. Even though Mary faced all kinds of danger in her life, her biggest fear was speaking to large groups. As a missionary, you have to speak to people about what you are doing in order to get your work funded. Even though she was always nervous, she never turned down a chance to speak about the work she was doing in Africa. God gave her the courage to share with large groups exactly what she was doing. During her work in the jungles, Mary Slessor became infected with malaria. She had bouts of fevers with this disease for 40 years, and at the age of 67, she died from a bout of malaria. Her courage in the face of danger, illness, hardship is a great example for us. With God's help, we can all be courageous and tell others about the good news of Jesus wherever we are in life.